All right, let's face it. In high school, we all had that one English teacher. Well, that English teacher is me. I'm Brian Kulak, a career educator and author of The Hot Seat. Every week, I reconnect with former students, colleagues, and fascinating people to explore who they were, who they are now, and the wisdom they've gained along the way. Welcome to The Hot Seat. What is up, Hot Seaters? I bring to you Jon Dyer, JD for short. And John, it's been a long time coming. I think when I first started thinking about these shows, I knew you were going to end up on here eventually at some point. So welcome. So glad to see you. Glad you're here. A lot to talk about. Some things we can talk about. Some things we're going to leave off the show.
Leave them in the past.
Like we were talking about a couple times. But our relationship goes way back, and for all the right reasons, right? We both can't stand Tom McCarthy. Remember, there was a little time there where we would text each other when he said stupid things, which he's been doing for forever now. Our mutual love of fall beers, which they're out now. I haven't got a chance to get one, but you'll get your annual text message with a beer, probably Shipyard.
Yep.
Cheers.
Are we drinking?
That's just part of the show, man. Part of the fabric of the show.
Love it.
Just have a beer while you're. Yeah, go ahead and get one.
Give me 5 seconds.
Yeah, go ahead. Obviously, John's never watched the show. I'm not a true fan. He's big time in this, but yeah, if you're out there, I'm gonna have a Fuego from Tonewood. Maybe I should start announcing it each week so I can get some brand recognition and maybe some sponsorships. What'd you go with, John?
Just what was in the fridge. It's a little
the old Corona
down here, so yeah, a little summer action. Close it out before the fall beers take over.
That's right. Fall beers are coming. I can't wait. Best time of the year to drink. But I was thinking about you, John, before we hopped on. I know we texted for the pre-show stuff, and I was trying to figure out how to describe like our relationship and how, it's been going on now for going on 20 years. And I think what I realized is that when you were in my class, you were like a college kid, like cosplaying as a senior. Like you were already so above and beyond, like maturity wise, intellectually. I think you just were like ready to be out of high school. So I think that's why I connected with you. I remember right where you sat up front, and I remember that class so well. We had such good conversations, and I remember one time, maybe 2 times, you got the conversation going when it was pretty clear that nobody else read, which was was something that happens as an English teacher. Now I'm not sure that you did, but you were good at faking it, or you did, and you always did. You always knew. There's a few things you did. You would give me a sideways glance because you're up front when somebody said something stupid or things went wrong or I said something stupid. So that was a given. Obviously, you made us laugh a lot. I think that class laughed together a lot. All my classes laughed together. It was kind of what we did. But I always could count on you for like, hey man, I'm drowning up here. I need somebody to say something about whatever we're reading or doing, and it was always you. So I think that's kind of where it started. Then I remember you came to one of my early NWA parties way back in the day. We shared a quick glass of scotch together and kind of just reminisced about things. Did you come to a poker tournament at one point too?
I did. Yeah, I came to a couple it was a wild mix of dudes, like your buddies who are all lunatics, and then some guys who graduated a couple years above me. I think me and Sullivan might have stopped by. So
yeah, I think Sebastian came to one. I think because I think you won one.
Yeah.
Are you still tight with him?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because he's in the show notes too. I wanted to talk to you about him. He keeps coming up. Mickey and Julie talked about him, and he just retired. I'm so happy for him. But we'll get into him a little bit later. I think it's important to give him his dues. One of the best teachers to go through that place. And I'm really happy for him on the other side of retirement. But as you probably know, we start each show with who were you and who are you now? Kind of catch us up on who you were back then and what you're up to now.
All right. Well, who I was back then was, a guy who was just trying to kind of figure it out. A lot of my friends, we all played the same sports. We were all academically doing pretty similar things. So we were in a lot of the same classes. We spent a ton of time together. So we kind of formed our little clique and, just tried to stay out of trouble. I mean, when you're cracking jokes and stuff in class because you're with your closest buddies, you get a little distracted at times, but, we all went on to college, all doing great now. So I went to TCNJ for 4 years, studied engineering.
Yep.
Graduated and actually got a job with the company that I interned at, which was cool. Worked there for like 10 years. and then it was just time to move on. And Mike Timpano's been working at Boeing for over 10 years now. Kept bugging me, kept bugging me, kept bugging me. You got to get out of there. You got to come to Boeing. It's about 3, 4 years ago. Left my old company. Been working at Boeing ever since. Love it. On the personal side of things, married the girl, my kind of end of college girlfriend. We have since gotten divorced, which I know we'll be getting into
Yeah,
a
it's in the
little
news.
bit of that.
It's
Yeah,
in
a
the
little
news.
bit of that. Now, don't want to talk details there, but yeah, we can kind of talk about the sort of the after effects of all
Sure,
that.
sure.
But met my now wife just after that. Best person in the entire world. So I have two stepsons, and then my daughter Charlie, who is 3. So most of my life is spent chasing her around at their sporting events.
Yes, I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which I'm sure you've seen on social,
Yeah, I
but
have. Yeah, yeah.
it's really fun life, man. We're busy, but it's fun. I love watching them play, and yeah. So
Are you coaching too?
I coach basketball, which is hilarious. The younger one plays soccer, he wrestles, he plays baseball, which are the 3 sports I did in high
Right, right,
school, and then he
right.
also plays basketball, and that's the only one I coach.
Okay, all right. That's so funny. The only one that,
Yeah,
yeah,
they
yeah.
they needed a coach, so I was like, yeah, you know what, I'll step up,
How old are they,
and
the
it's been
boys?
great. Sean just turned 11, and
Okay,
Braden's like 9.5. So
okay.
Sean's going into middle school, 6th grade this year. Braden's going into fourth.
And where do you guys live?
We are in Washington Township.
That's what I thought. Okay, yeah. I mean, I only really kind of see John, I'm sorry, Tommy from time to time, and obviously see Madison a lot when I go up
Hmm.
to, because poor house up the street from my house.
Yeah,
And I had such a great chat with Mickey and Julie, and then they all came to one of the signings, the Weldy family, and
yeah.
it just reminded me of what a great group you guys all, the family you guys all are. Um, but there's some things that struck me again just about you that I wonder if they're still true. So we're going to do a little game here, right? So
Ready.
back then, you seemed to be someone to whom things came easily. True or false?
True.
Yep, and I don't mean just school stuff. Like I just feel like you had a handle on stuff all the time.
Yeah, I'm a pretty observant person, so I still am that way. But yeah, school, I didn't have to challenge myself in high school all
Yep,
that much.
right.
AP courses and some honors courses, but for the most part, could kind of work my way through that without having to do too much. And that kind of reared its head in
I'll
college
bet.
because
Yeah,
the reckoning came,
yeah,
and I really had to figure out how to learn, how to study, how to
yeah,
work.
yeah.
And that was a rough process for me, but thankfully came out on the other side of it. But
It's
it was tough.
it's so funny because I think that happens to so many people when high school just comes easily, whether it's because of your academic acumen, your personality, or something in between, or both. Like my son doesn't have to work all that hard. He's very much like you. And I was just talking to somebody about that. Like I think in college, he's gonna be like, wait a minute, this is
Yeah,
not the same, right? Um, it's great while it lasts, but at some point, you're going to be challenged. And so I'm one for one there. That you were never in trouble, true or false?
pretty much.
Yep.
Officially, well, one
All
got
right.
got caught, got caught drinking once.
I mean, come on.
Gotten some trouble for that before senior year. But besides that, I mean, school wise, kept it pretty clean,
That's what I
thankfully.
thought. Okay. You never seemed overwhelmed.
Um, that is no longer the case. Yeah, yeah, that is definitely no longer the case. I think
Okay.
as I've gotten older and the problems have gotten bigger, my
Sure.
ability to cope with them hasn't grown with that. So,
Okay.
especially towards the end of my first job, when I was like really unhappy and getting ready to leave, I mean, I was like walking out into the woods behind behind the building, like just
Yeah.
trying to find a way to like get my breath and stay calm. And um, you know, uh, other things happened that led me to
Yeah.
go talk to somebody and
Good.
learn how to deal with that a little bit better. So
There we go again. Ding ding. Every week, therapy and that kind of thing comes up on here. So good for you. Certainly a big part of my life. And it does. The bigger the problems, the bigger and the harder the solution. So I'm glad that you're managing it differently now. But back then, you just didn't seem to sweat, which I think I really envied in you. And then the last one is I never felt like you were misunderstood. I felt like you just kind of you were who you were, and everybody knew it, and that was who you were.
Yeah, I think that's probably still the case, and it's because I speak my mind. I have pretty strong opinions, and I'm not usually afraid to let people know. I think it is a little bit different, and I'll give Mike Timpano a shout out here because he's been
Yeah.
trying to teach me this for our entire friendship, and I think it finally sank in about 5 or 6 years ago, is that like just because someone doesn't agree with you doesn't mean that they're wrong. And just giving them that grace in that when you're having that exchange with people, and leaving room for both people to have a piece of the pie there,
Yep.
has improved a lot of my relationships. I'll say over the last couple of years, I think I've
I
been a
mean,
little bit easier to deal with.
that's that's huge, John. I mean, you're not too old where it doesn't make a difference, right? Like there are people in a generation above us where like that they're not. How many times I've said this, but like they're not going to change, right? People are who they
Oh
are at a
yeah,
certain age. It's just you're going to
trust
mail it
me.
in.
Yeah,
But we have an opportunity to not be that in this generation, especially the generation that understands therapy, understands self awareness and self care and all that. So good on Mike for that advice. I think that there's also a growing. I'm so impressed by the growing vulnerability that men have shown
mhm.
in the wake of everything else that's happening in the world. And it's a very challenging time to have an opinion in the world, right? Like to your point, I forget who told me this, and when I first heard it, I couldn't believe I had just heard it for the first time. But he said, two things can be true, and I can't get that out of my head. Like when I'm in conversations with people like you, or there's some divisive topic, or even in school when I have to talk to parents who may not believe in what I believe, my leadership style, whatever. It doesn't. You're right. It doesn't mean they're wrong. I mean, their lived experience is not the same as mine, but at this moment, we're all doing it together at school. We're going to have a 6-year marriage, whether you like it or not, right? From kindergarten to 5th grade. So we're going to have
Mhm.
to figure this out. So I mean, again, you're young enough where that revelation can really have huge benefits. So that's great. I'm glad to hear that. So I think I was 4 for 4. I knew I would go 4 for 4. It's been a while since I've gone 4 for 4 in baseball. I had a really tough season, but we'll talk about that later.
Yikes.
Um, but you're right. In the pre-show, I mean, in the beginning, you talked about how we're living sort of parallel lives, right? We're both divorced men, probably not on our bingo card when we signed up in the first place.
Nope.
You can cut there.
Oh, sorry.
It's
I
okay.
was just gonna give you that because I'm
Okay.
gonna go play with walk.
Okay, cool. Um,
Sorry.
it's okay. I don't remember when it happened, John, but I'm glad that it did. Thanks, bud. Yep, thank you. I started calling this phase of life Act Two. I don't know how it just kind of came to me, and
Mhm.
then I started framing this new life I'm living as that in a way that is more celebratory than anything else. Like that first act is over. I
Mhm.
have the immense fortune to have these two kids in my life, right? And we have navigated divorce in a way that I tell them all the time, I don't know how they're doing it. I wouldn't do it this way. They're so good at managing it all. Um, and then, Act Two, like for you, includes a new person. So meeting her has changed everything. My social media handle has retired husband on there, in a snarky way, but that's no longer true. I mean, at some point, we'll be married, and I look forward to that day. I know she does too. So I'm so happy to hear that. That's kind of where you landed as well.
Yeah.
I think Act Two is going to be somewhere on my tattoo sleeve eventually when next time I get to sit down. But what we don't have in common is the step parent piece. I don't have stepchildren, and Dana doesn't have children, so these two are it. So she's kind of living that alongside you.
Mhm.
Can you talk about that journey? What being a step parent has been like for you? I mean, I have no frame of reference for it.
So I met my wife through a mutual friend, actually at an Eagles tailgate. It's an
What
interesting
better
place to
place?
put. Yeah,
Yep,
exactly. It's like
yep,
love at first sight. If she loves the
yeah,
birds,
yeah.
then she's already got a leg up. Didn't really know her situation. Kind of reached out to the friend and was like, "Hey, what's her situation?" Like I saw she took her glove off. We were playing dice. She didn't have a ring on, so I got excited.
Got to look for the ring right
Um,
away. Got excited. That's so funny.
Absolutely. So, just kind of reached out, went on a couple dates, and once we started to get, a little bit serious, she made sure she sat me down very early and basically said, just so you know, if we're going to move forward with this, I need you to understand that they are my number one priority, always.
Yep.
And then I gave, some type of affirmative answer like, yep, I get it. And she's like, hang on.
You got to really hear what I'm saying here.
I think
Yeah.
what you heard I said is that they are my number one priority. But what I mean is they're my number one priority over you. That's the unspoken part.
Yep.
that you need to think about if that's what you really want. And if it is, then we can move forward from here. And if it's not, then this has been fun, but I'll see you later.
What a ball. I
So
love it. I love
she's
it.
dude, you would love her.
I need
She
to meet her.
is,
Yeah, we got to get
you
a
really
drink,
do.
man.
I
Yeah.
know it has to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she has made that clear from day one. And there have been times where I've wanted to do things a certain way, right? And she just reminds me of that day. Hey, remember, right? Remember what I said.
Yep.
So I think her setting that foundation early, and then we waited quite a bit before I met the boys, just to make sure that it was also during COVID. We met in January of 2020.
Oh,
And then,
dude.
like lockdown, and
Yeah.
I'm like, well, how's this going to work? And we kind of just
Yeah.
made the decision, like, let's just see where this goes. So,
Yep.
sometime in the summer, we set up the first, meet and greet with them. We went to her parents' house. They have a pool, so it was kind of like low stakes. I just kind of came over as this guy, right? They didn't really know who I was, and we just built it slow.
How slow? Like what was the timeline between meeting and like that conversation she had with you and then meeting the boys?
So I would say that conversation was about like a month or two in,
Okay.
especially like because once lockdown happened, it was like, well, now neither of us are really going to be like out there on the dating scene. So like, are we going to kind of be exclusive? And then
Yeah.
if we are, right, like this is the condition to move this forward. So I'd say about 2 months for
Okay.
that conversation, and then it was in the summertime. So I would say about like 6 or 7 months in, then I finally met the boys.
Yeah, that's what we did too. About 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah. It felt right.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't know. We both felt, and we kind of came to the decision about at the same time. Like she brought it up and I was planning to bring it up. So it just
Okay.
kind of worked out. We're usually
Good.
on the same page, and that's always very helpful. And then from there, honestly, in the beginning, I was just like a new dude to throw a football to them.
Yeah.
We kind of
Yeah.
I didn't try to come in and do anything official. I just wanted to, build my relationship with them, have fun, right?
Yep. Yep.
And then, just kind of take it from there. And then as things progressed, I think I moved in the next like big step. I moved in about a year after I met them. So a year and a
Okay.
half into us dating. I sold my house in Haddon Township, moved in, down there, and we talked to them, before that
Yep.
happened.
Yep.
I asked their permission,
Yep. Smart.
all that
Yeah.
stuff, right? So
Yeah.
I think we always tried to do it the right way, and she made sure that it was done the right way at every step. So I give almost all the credit to her. I was kind of mostly just like along for the ride and
Yeah.
behaving.
Well, it is kind of her show. I mean,
It
again, I
is.
love the way she. It probably wasn't necessary in the global sense, like because of who you are, and I know who you are, right? But like as a mom, you gotta like. And my point, John, is like there's no point at which you're like, well, no, I really want to be first here. Like I know that about you, right? But I really appreciate and respect. She's like, this is what it's gonna be, and it's your call. But now the next question is like, talk about the intersection between that and then having your own child with her, and like how do you shape shift between, parenting Charlie, but also then parenting the boys?
So we have very similar upbringings. Like our parents, when they met, they're like the same people. Like they grew up in the city, right? And then they
Right.
moved to Jersey. Like a lot of people in this area have that similar type story. So we've been pretty aligned from pretty early on. And once I kind of demonstrated that I was, committed and good with the boys, she gave me a lot of rope. She basically said like, okay, we can kind of co-parent them together, right?
Mhm.
At the end of the day, she's got the final say,
Of
but
course.
she did give me that leeway. So my style was already kind of starting to develop, so that when Charlie came along, there wasn't this big like, well, she's my kid and they're not my
Right.
kid. Like my brain doesn't have that firewall in it. It's just
Right.
they're all my kids.
Right.
I get a little bit more of like, final say. I'll say with
Mhm.
with Charlie, obviously.
Mhm.
I'd say that's one of the only things that can be tough. Like being a stepdad is the greatest thing. I love it so much. It's not always all sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there are times like you basically have to just be ready for like one big like punch in the face every 6 months. Like there's a thing that happens where it's just like, this kind of sucks and this is really unfair. But
Yep.
then you just have to take a breath and
Yep.
remember like your place and that conversation, and it just kind of regrounds you.
Yeah.
Um, but that's more so just like external things like, oh, Sean's graduation. Well, there's only 4 tickets and I can't go. Right.
Oh,
So
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
things like that, are just like, they feel unfair, but then, when you stop being a baby and you just like calm
Yeah.
yourself down, you're like, okay, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, the boys, I, I've said to a lot of people, I think one of my favorite parts of becoming a dad was watching how good the boys were with Charlie.
With little sister,
Just like
yeah.
watching them both turn into big brothers to like a little girl. They are amazing. They're
You
amazing.
adore her? Yeah.
Yeah, they're awesome big brothers. They're so good with kids in general. They're awesome dudes. So that
Yeah.
also has helped this tremendously.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
they never give me like the "you're not my real dad,"
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
type deal. So that's super helpful.
It's so funny that, God, the parallels continue because there are incremental, I love your stomach punch analogy. Like there are incremental things that happen that we cannot prepare for. We can only react to, right? And when they happen, we're like, okay. And, we're both, um, what's the word? We both believe strongly in mental health and therapy and self-awareness and talk communication and all the things that make a relationship work.
Hmm.
But it doesn't make it any easier, particularly for her, when those things happen, because like
Yeah.
I don't have a frame of reference. Like I don't know what it's like when the stomach punches happen and they like graze me, but then they land on
Hmm.
her, right?
Yeah.
So like that's hard. But it is part of the process, and you're right. You have to, just take a step and like step back and think about the players involved, think about the
Hmm.
ages, think about the enormity or the opposite, of what is happening, and then move on. But there is a, you said 6 months. If we tracked it, it'd probably be very similar, and it could be a nondescript, mundane thing that goes haywire, or it
Hmm.
could be like this like nagging thing that is always like omnipresent.
Yeah.
Um, so it's good to hear you say that. I don't certainly want to get too into it with you because I know it's your personal life, but I do value what you're sharing because it's a new Act Two is different, man. It's way different
Yeah.
than Act One.
Yeah.
I can report like you. I'm happier. I'm calmer.
Yeah.
The kids,
Definitely
the kids
calmer.
know. Yeah, the kids know. Right.
Definitely.
Yeah, the kids have noticed the difference. They called it Grumpy Dad, and Grumpy Dad went bye bye, which is wonderful. So I think
Yeah.
all that stuff is happening, but it's an evolution, and like there is no finish line that ever will be in sight, when you're living this new life.
Hmm.
So um, I want to just a quick pivot, just because I saw him hop on. I did want to give you a chance to just kind of talk through your relationship with Sebastian. I know, and he was always, you and him were always so close. And I saw a picture of him fishing with, was it Dave D? I forget. There was a picture with him, one of you guys. It looked like
Hmm.
they were fishing. How did that, tell us about that relationship? How did you guys, become so close and then continue that relationship after high school?
So he was my teacher for 3 years, honors chem, AP chem, and AP calc, which were probably the three hardest classes that I
Sure.
took in high school. So I would say without him, that transition that I talked about going from high school to college and kind of having to learn how to learn differently would have been an absolute disaster instead of just a small disaster.
Okay.
Um, he really challenged us. He treated us like adults. I think you're another example of a teacher who did that, and I really appreciate the fact that you do that. I think it helps your students like way more than you know. And he held us accountable. He's also hilarious.
Yeah.
So in
Yeah.
class, like we kind of had a similar sense of humor about things. The Eagles were really good back then, so we were always like talking football,
Yep.
cracking jokes about like movies and shows that we watched.
Yep.
And then when we went off to college, I just kind of stayed in touch. So when I would come back to visit, I would go see him. We always just kind of got along. My whole group did, really. That was
Yeah.
the big
Yeah.
thing, is that my whole group of friends were all in his classes,
Right.
and we all had that relationship with him. And then so graduating from college, young professional, we got a little cash to burn, we got some free time. We love the Phillies, so we started getting like a 6 pack of tickets to go. We'd go over after work, go tailgate, stay in the parking lot till there was nobody left. Like 1 o'clock in the morning, then
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
home,
Yeah.
and then that just kind of brought it all together. Then we started like a little group text, me, him, Sullivan, and Dave McCarty, which is still going to this day. It's like
Nice.
over 15 years old.
Yeah.
Um, I'm involved. Like I go over to his house, we hang out.
Yep.
And then the other piece of it is the WNBA Fantasy League.
Yep. Yep. I was the inaugural member of that league.
Yes. Lots of shenanigans in that league. So that's just another example of just something that kind of kept us close. Like I consider him, I almost like forget that he was my teacher. He's just one of my best and most trusted friends. Like I love the guy to death.
I don't know if I'm sure you do because of, again, who you are, but like there is nothing that can compare to what you just said for a teacher to hear, right? Like not only do we not hear it as often as maybe people think, the what's the word? The amount of time you spent with him now is over 20 years, right?
It's more than half my life.
Right.
Yeah, it's more than half my life. I met him when I was like 16. I'm 37.
I love that you said you forget that he was your teacher because, again, in a parallel way, Casey Clemens and Greg Francis live right there, so I can walk to both their houses, right? We're all living in this little enclave back here in Hen Township. And those two guys changed everything for me when I was in high school. They helped me figure out my path both as a coach and as a teacher. I think were instrumental in getting me back to Audubon, whatever strings they pulled. And I totally forget that they were my teachers. In fact, Casey never was. He was a young buck when he started, and I didn't have him, but I had Greg. And now the joke is Greg is Willie Nelson, Casey's Bruce, and I'm Eddie Vedder. So there's like this musical
lineage,
generational.
Yeah.
But I'm glad Sebastian's on and watching because I think I'm sure he knows that about you, but it's different when you hear it from the source. So there's no equivalent to relationships that we form with you guys that last over this amount of time. And it's funny how many times people say things that happen in class that I have no recollection of, but I keep saying like there were thousands of you and there's only one of me. So, but there are things I remember about people like you and Sully. I mean, God, that class was so fun. The Hamlet video you got, I'll never forget the Hamlet videos.
That was so fun making that thing, man.
I mean, Sully was so funny. I'm so glad we did. So it's just stuff like that will resonate. The Battle of Sexes, all that stuff, that silly stuff that we did that you guys let me do as seniors, is gold. So I'm glad that you have that with him, and so many of you guys do. I'm glad that you're in my life, and your family is in my life. So with that, let's get to your hot seat question. I have two for every guest. You can veto the first one if you don't like it, and they're both, I think, pretty heavy hitters, and I think you can handle them. That's why I chose them. So the first one, if you choose, is what is your life missing right now?
Man, I wish you would have asked me this question a couple of years ago.
Yeah, you kind of put it all together in the last couple of years, huh?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, man. Like, I don't know if I could give you an answer that would be worth a damn. Like, I am in a very good place. I am very happy. I don't know, man. I don't think that right now. Maybe like a better exercise routine. Like I don't have a good answer for you.
No, I think that is your answer, John. Your answer is it's not. I mean, that's wonderful. That's exactly what you can flip the question on its ear all you want.
And probably for the first time in my entire life, even going back to high school, there was always things I probably wish I could, do better or something that I wanted to happen. Right now, job's good, family's great.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let me ask you this.
I'm like at a loss for words. I didn't think this was going to happen.
No, that's all right. Let me ask you this. There's a great short story. I don't think I taught it to you guys, but it's called A Worn Path. And it follows this character who's on the way to get medicine for a sick and dying relative. Anyway, the theme of the story is the path is the thing that matters, right? Not so you are right now at your like metaphysical destination. This is where you're supposed to be. You have all the things in your life that you want. You couldn't be happier. You went through some other stuff to get to this point. So my question is the path the thing that matters, or is it the destination?
I think it's trust the process. It's the
Yeah.
path, right? It's like
You're going to evoke the
sometimes,
Sixers. I
yeah.
love it.
Sorry, I had to. So, I really do believe that. I think
Okay.
like it is all about going on that path, and then also like while you're on that path, you have struggles and you rely on your support system, right? And it makes you appreciate all that stuff so much more that when you kind of do get to a sort of a resting spot, I'll call
Yep.
it right now, right? Like I don't feel like I'm trudging uphill anymore. Like I'm kind of at an outlook.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't know what's going to happen next, right? Like I might have to go start walking up that hill, or
Yep.
maybe I'll fall off the cliff. I don't know. But right now, I'm allowing myself to take some time to just enjoy the view.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great answer. And I don't know that people do that in the moment well at all, right? Like, you remember Perks being a wallflower. At some point, he says, we never really realized that we're in the good old days until they're far over, right? Like they were the good old days. So, like, I think to have, and I love the analogy of looking out, and seeing your life for what it is now. The opposite could be true for so many of us, John, especially people who've gone through divorce, where it's like, it's just everything's drudgery, everything is woe is me, and people just don't move on. And obviously every situation is different, but I think we both landed in a very similar place. Like you got a couple of years on me in terms of marriage and a child, but like I don't know where I'd be if I didn't meet her, and if I didn't have the children that I have, who would be able to kind of get through all this stuff. Same with your stepsons. So I think that's a perfect answer. I mean, I think sometimes we forget to stop and be thankful. And here in this episode, you were thankful for leaving your job. You're thankful for Sebastian. You're thankful for your wife and your children. So you're just being thankful, and that's kind of where you are right now.
Yeah.
A lot of people go through life not thankful at all. So I think that's a perfect answer. There's no right answer. You're not getting a grade. I mean, we're doing it anyway. So all right. So first of all, we got to make the drink thing happen. I mean, Washington Township and Haddon Township are not far away. I'd love to meet you. What's the wife's name?
Mary Kate.
Okay, so we got to do that. We can even have Abby be the babysitter if you want, because she needs some babysitting money. So you can have her be the babysitter. But I would love to meet her and just kind of talk. I know Dana would too. Just kind of talk through like your journey, where you are now.
Yeah.
Before we sign off, anything else you want to kind of add or?
Thank you. Just for the friendship, for everything over the years. Like I look back on that time in my life, and a lot of us, like while we're in high school, I can't wait to get out of Audubon. I can't wait to do this. I wish I could go back and be there forever. Like I love the people of the town. Like you go back for like the Jake tournament, you run into all these people, right? It's just like so many people from Audubon. You haven't seen them in forever, and they're just great people.
Yeah.
So thank you for kind of being a part of that, for the friendship over the years, and for having me today. This was honestly really fun.
Yeah. Like I said, I thought of you right away when I started putting together the plans for this weekly thing, and I'm so glad you said yes. You didn't have to, and being honest on here. And I mean, you mean a lot to me. A lot of that whole crew does. None of you guys are ever too far away from from my mind. And this was just kind of a proof positive of that 20-year friendship. So thank you for coming on the journey with me, and for coming on tonight. I appreciate it.
Of course, man.
All right, dude. I'll text you for that beer.
Cheers.
All right, John. See ya. Cheers. All right, everyone. Jon Dyer, doing what I knew Jon Dyer would do. What a great conversation. Great guy. Great family. Next week, speaking of great families, we're going to take a little bit of a deviation next week. We got Ryan Filippi, not the actor, but Ryan Filippi coming on. Ryan is the youngest of the Filippi crew. His oldest brother was my best man and still one of my best friends. But Ryan is the best and brightest of that crew. So we're going to have a good time with him next week. As always, keep reading the book, keep sharing the book. Thanks. Nice brand recognition, John. I appreciate it. Drop comments on that Amazon or Barnes & Noble page, and just keep talking about it, guys. I really appreciate the support. I'll see you next week. All right, Hot Seaters, thanks for tuning in. Before you go, here's how to stay connected. Follow me on Instagram at Brian_Kulak. Check out more resources on my blog over at briankulak.net. Pick up a copy of The Hot Seat or my other book, Level Up Leadership, both available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And please, if you found value in today's conversation, leave us a rating and a review. It truly helps others discover these stories. Share this episode with someone in your life, hit subscribe, and I'll see you next week for another conversation in
the hot seat.